G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to War Thunder with Mags and another War Thunder sim tank battle. Today we're driving out the 15cm Sturmpanzer 43 L12-4, otherwise known as the Brummbär. I think I got the pronunciation right there. Anyway, this rolling troll cannon is rank 3, battle rating 5, and is armed with a 150mm STU-H43 L12 howitzer with a maximum of 38 shots. I did a first impressions on this one a while back, so I've already gone over most of its stats here. All you really need to know is it has a big gun, will do 40 on a good day, or if you find a steep enough cliff to throw it over, and has relatively thin armour for its matchmaking. Well, that is with RB matchmaking. The pre-selected nature of War Thunder sim events, however, means that you are likely to bounce a shot or two from the lower tiered machines that are put into these matches. However, as always, don't rely on it. So why am I driving this little beast out in War Thunder Sim? Well, for the most part it's because I've never seen anybody drive it out in Sim before. I've never seen any videos on this thing in Sim. I don't recall ever encountering one of these in a simulation battle when it's been available, which is odd. Normally you get at least one or two of every tank represented, but not in this case. So I wanted to find out if there was a reason why. I'm bouncing a couple of shots from a T-34 there, just got the right angle so it just ricocheted off. Only 50mm of side armour of course, so it is vulnerable there, but angling was good. Well, actually more to the point, the T-34 shots were bad, although I doubt he would have gotten through the front plate anyway. So we enter the cap circle, and first things first, I'm checking this building to the right hand side of the cap circle. That's the area that the shots from the T-34 were coming from. At the moment I've got no visuals, but I'm hearing shots and explosions going on to the left, my immediate left, and I can see that flare there, so there's definitely an engagement going around the side. I'm a little concerned about a tank being down that way, but I really need to get my nose around here to have a look at what's there. And it's a good thing I did too, as much as he was very distracted, we have a T-34. Or I should say we had a T-34. 150mm high explosive shell at that range, it never stood a chance. So anyway, at this point I know the cap circle is clear because I'm capping. Should there be any enemy vehicles inside of the cap circle and amongst all these buildings, the indicator at the bottom of the screen would actually vanish. So you can use that to recon in Sim to get an idea of whether or not anybody's relatively close to you. And because it's just disappeared, I now know there is a tank and I can see a shadow. So what do we have? And it is a Churchill. Now, to be honest, I could have aimed that shot better. The shell went straight into the right-hand track on the Churchill. It's completely destroyed the track, immobilizing the tank, but the explosion has also travelled up and destroyed the gun. I could have one-shot killed the Churchill then if I'd aimed higher and just smashed the turret, but at the very least I have both immobilized the tank, taken out its gun, and then with the reload, finish off the Churchill. The end result was the same, but I could have improved my efficiency a little bit there. And once again we're capping, so I know the Churchill didn't bring anybody with him, or at least nobody who has managed to sneak into the circle this time. And we now have a Stug here as well. I'm actually quite grateful for the Stug to show up. While I have all these buildings around me, the Brummbär is actually an incredibly dangerous machine, providing the enemy only come at me one at a time. However, if I had two vehicles charging at once, I would be in a world of trouble, because the reload time on this thing is long. It is exceptionally long. With the Stug around, I can now play support for the Stug. He can take the lead, he has a much faster firing cannon, he can penetrate at longer range, he's more accurate, and I can just make sure nothing gets on his 6, be the big scary dirt tank that's floating around behind him. So, just doing a quick check on the far side of this building, I want to make sure nobody's coming down from the far side capture point via the town. The Stug is definitely firing on something around the corner here. And there it is right in front. We have a vehicle just through the trees, so just got to get ourselves lined up. And I totally under-aimed this shot. That right there could have been my third kill. However, for a moment I forgot what tank I was driving and I just didn't aim appropriately for the howitzer. I fell short by about 40 or 50 meters. On the upside, he couldn't see us to fire back at us, and the Stug manages to take out the target. But yeah, that kill could have been mine. Actually, that makes me think. These big derp cannon shells, when they detonate, kick up a massive dust cloud, a huge dust cloud. It is a massive particle physics effect. The large-scale bombs do exactly the same thing. Lots of smoke, lots of particle effects. Why don't we have smoke canisters and smoke grenade launchers in the game already? Because effectively all they are is long played versions of the particle effects that we already have in game. They're a large area of course, and the animation will play slower and last longer, but we've already got them here. If you get 3 Brummbärs or 3 KV2s in a row, and you had them all lob shells straight into a field all at once, the smoke effect would be much the same as a smoke grenade going off. It would just only last for a very short period of time. Honestly, I just don't see why we haven't got them already, and I think that would be something that you could add to War Thunder tanks that actually would seriously change the way the game is played. Generic white smoke grenades for applying cover and blocking your opponent's vision, allowing you to move around without being sniped from extremely long range and to set up tactical positions. Or directed coloured smoke, potentially being fired from somewhere in the commander's hatch, that you could use to mark a target's location so that close air support can come in and deal with them. Actually, that last one would actually solve a problem within the game currently, as at the moment, tanks and aircraft have different maps that do not correspond to one another, so a tank cannot paint a target on a map using a map ping and have an aircraft see exactly where that location is. Smoke would solve the problem between the two. And it would do it in a very realistic fashion, as, well, that's how ground forces in World War II marked the location of enemy tanks in the real world. Anyways, we now have a target. We have a T-34. Unfortunately, we have a whirlwind on the other side of it, so this is going to be a very tricky shot. Deliberately lob the shell low, stick it underneath the T-34 and let it detonate there. I had to be very careful with that shot, because if I had lobbed high and hit the upper rear section of the T-34, the explosion probably would have taken out our self-propelled anti-aircraft gun there. And so proceeding on, and unfortunately at this point, we are starting to fall behind. As I said at the start of this video, the Brummbär will do around 40 kilometers an hour on flat, paved terrain, and given enough time. It's quite nippy when you can get it onto a city map. Unfortunately, this is not a city map. So at the moment I'm besting about 30, and most of the time, because I'm having to maneuver, I'm actually doing under 20. This is really slowing me down. Everything else on the map is starting to pull away and get to the cap points first. Now, our central cap point is now being taken. At the moment, I'm just checking for reinforcements over this ridge line before I move in there. However, I needn't have worried. That's where the Stug 3 went. He's taken out the Hellcat that was operating up near the town at this point, and he's currently lurking around heading towards the enemy's cap point to isolate any vehicles coming from that direction. So he's basically going to shut down all activity on the side of this map. Because I've paused, I've now fallen behind the front of the rest of the team. Now the central point has been taken, so we're going to carefully move up to that. Now I'm trying to get an angle through the trees here, looking for movement over at that cap point. If I can lob a shell straight into the center. And the best part about this tank, because, well, it's a 150mm shell, I don't have to be entirely accurate with it. If I can just get it close enough, I can disable or potentially destroy a tank just with a near miss. But unfortunately, no motion. But we do know he's there, because our Panzer IV just got taken out. Now, since the Panzer IV got taken out on that side, I was originally planning on going around the opposite side of the building, but we have a second Panzer IV that's come up, and he is going to get into that center and around that building before I will. So I'll let him go in that direction. I will come around the side that was just attacked, and fingers crossed I should get a side shot on whoever engages the Panzer IV. Except no, because the Panzer IV just takes out the target smoothly and rolls straight into the cap circle. And at this point, unfortunately, the match is pretty much over. As we recap A point, there are only 4 Russian vehicles left on the map, and at least one of them is an aircraft, so they only have 3 ground vehicles at absolute maximum, and that's if I didn't miss a plane. They still have B cap secured, but as you can see, we have tanks rolling down from our cap points one after another. We have Whirlwinds, Osterwinds, we have Panzer IVs coming from everywhere. We outnumber the Russians about 3-1 at this point, and control 2 of the cap circles already, and we have our own fighters up that are currently flying around just looking for anything that they possibly can to destroy. So at this point the Russians really had no chance to turn it around. The 3 remaining vehicles were destroyed in just a moment, one when we cap out the B point, and the remaining 2 were camping inside of the cap zone and were taking out just a few moments later. Unfortunately, I don't get to see any of that because, well, at this point the vehicles on my team are faster than I am, and they just clean house ahead of me before I can even arrive. So, let's go through the results. Alright, and the results for the match. So, 3rd place for the team with 3 kills and 2 base captures, 1,575 points. We came in with Shadow Strike X3, Teamwork, Base Capture X2 Streak, and the best squad. 43,270 silver lions, and 3,662 research points. Now, part of the low research points is because I'm using a rank 3 vehicle to research a rank 5 vehicle. Remember, always one above and one below for research purposes. So, overall, not a bad match. 3 kills in third place, pretty acceptable for a sim battle, especially in this kind of a machine. Now, I said when I did my first impressions of this tank that it was a bit of a novelty piece, and it still is. Well, in simulation it's no different. The problem is that the vehicle doesn't have the armor to be able to shirt front most of the vehicles that it faces. Its armor is acceptable, but not brilliant. The larger machines will quite easily punch holes straight through it. The reload on the gun is too slow to make up for this lack of armor, so you can't use the weapon as a way of forcing your enemy away and controlling them. Once you fire a shot in this tank, everybody's well aware you're out for some time. And then there is the velocity of the shell. It's an extremely low velocity shell, needs to be lobbed. In realistic battle, you can get some good perspective to work out exactly where you need to put that shell in order to hit the target at extreme ranges, but in simulation it is much harder to do, which does limit it to close range fights. It is fun, I do enjoy driving it out, but it's still a novelty. Anyways, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. As always, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Click like if you do, subscribe if you want to see more. Drive smart, drive safe, and I'll catch you on the battlefield.